Your Seattle Seahawks are Super Bowl champions. The Lombardi is back in Seattle. What's up, 12s? This is the most special Seahawks Collective. And I think I saw that a few weeks ago, but this has got to be the one presented by Hog Media. We are so excited to be with you tonight and to invite in our now Super Bowl champion Seahawks insiders, Michael Shandugar, covering the Hawks for The Athletic, Brian Nemhauser, our Hawk blogger, and Rob Staten from the Seahawks draft blog. Rob, who said it was actually a top 5 day of his life. And I can very much so agree with that. Let us know in the chat if Sunday was that for you as well. And I know we used to do this Tuesday takeaway, but this is a Super Bowl Tuesday takeaway. So I'd love from each of you just to get your feelings on how you're feeling tonight post the win against the Patriots in San Fran. And Rob, I'll start with you. How are you feeling on this Tuesday?
Very jet lagged. I only landed a few hours ago, so yeah, strange. I feel a bit strange. I just thought it was an amazing day. Like you said, it was definitely sort of the birth of my two children and meeting my wife 20 years ago, and probably like one or two other things that I've done with friends over the years. This it was right up there, to be there in the stadium and to be one of the people who felt like they needed a bit of closure from 11 years ago, to see all that unfolding. It was a perfect day. Perfect day. That's what it was.
I love that. I love hearing that. And I'm sure it was closure for a lot of other Seahawks fans as well. Brian, what's up with you? How are you feeling on Tuesday?
I'm happy for so many reasons, AB. I'm happy, obviously, that Seahawks pulled it off in dominant fashion, and happy to be home with my family and in my bed and actually having some normal hours. And as Rob was kind of talking about it there, it's just so striking to me that you go literally within a few hours from being the fan base that basically was holding maybe the most humiliating championship moment in the history of sports, and that being your last Super Bowl memory, to maybe having the most perfect season ever. And yes, I understand the Dolphins went undefeated, but to do what the Seahawks did, to beat their rivals on the way, to beat the MVP, the runner-up MVP, to do it on their rivals' home field, something that their rivals will never be able to do, partially because Lumen Field will never host a Super Bowl, most likely. I just don't think you could do better than that. I think it was just amazing to go from that depth to that height in just a few hours, and it's forever. And that's one of the things that's amazing about it.
It is forever. No one can take it away from the players, from the Seahawks fans. It's all ours. And so Mike, how are you feeling on the Tuesday?
I'm feeling like a lot of the players and coaches are tired. A lot of guys in that locker room today who hadn't slept or slept for a few hours. That's their staff too. Equipment, PR, everyone's kind of running on fumes. But I'm very happy for pretty much everybody in there. My job is storytelling, so the people I've told stories about or learned their stories that I want to chip on Sunday. That's super cool. Trying to think, so Shaquille Griffin's draft class is my first draft class as a beat writer. So anybody from that 2017 class, I feel super connected to. Shaq's obviously the only one left, but everybody who they drafted or traded for, I was pretty much here. Well, actually, everyone I was here for them acquiring, right? Except for Jay Reed. I came right after they drafted.
So don't leave, Mike. You're Seahawks for life.
Yeah,
don't
so
leave.
I wasn't at Jay Reed's draft, but everybody else, I'm pretty sure I was there when they acquired them, either trade, whatever, signing. So it's cool. I've told pretty much most of everybody's story in there, of who plays a lot. At some point I've spoken to them. So pretty much just spent most of I don't have a lot of quotes from like Super Bowl night because I was mostly just going around telling guys congrats. That was pretty cool. I was like one big version of that lady from Jacksonville after the Jags got bounced, but just more succinct, I guess. Just telling guys congrats, happy for them, because I am. It was some guys like more than others because I know them. I've talked about that on the show, but yeah, just seeing all those guys be champs, guys who played, guys who didn't play, coaches, execs. Yeah, that was great, and I got to hold the trophy. Never held the Lombardi until Sunday night. that was cool. It's something I literally never thought about doing until Rod Maher, their team photographer, was like, "You want to hold it?" And I was like, "Sure, great." Held it. I was like, "This is
Twist
cool."
my arm.
Yeah, kissing it is kind of crazy, but holding it was cool enough. That was pretty cool. I'll never forget that either.
Those are special moments. And I do want to get into maybe what the locker room was like in the post game celebrations. But take me into, Rob, what it was like watching that game in person. You were at the stadium. What were your emotions during this game?
Yeah, do you know what? I was very emotional at the start of the game. And if I had to go a little bit before that, we were sat right behind where Green Day were playing. So that was pretty surreal. And because I said to Jeff Simmons, who I was sat next to, I was like, imagine how much it would cost just to sit this close to Green Bay while they were playing 3 songs. Like, let alone the fact that the Super Bowl was taking place afterwards. And then I'm a bit sad.
Wait. I got to interrupt you because I was curious. When Green Day was set up, they had that huge thing and it was blocking some of the views. Were you worried that was going to stay there and you weren't going to have a view of the game?
No, because they put it up just before they came out.
Okay.
So I was guessing that wasn't going to stay there. So, but today, this is how sad I am. Today, I was actually watching that back and trying to pick out where Jeff and I were on the TV copy, and I have taken a few screen grabs. Now, you would never know that it's us. But every time it went on, I was very aware that we could have been on the TV. So I was like, wave it away. So you do see this absolute sad act from England in the 9th row, waving furiously during the Green Bay They probably thought I was really enjoying the concert, but I was actually trying to get on the TV. So so that was that. And then, I'm not American, but the American national anthem it just does something to us. And it made me very emotional before the game started. And then I was actually really calm during the game. I felt it was in complete control. I'm glad that I wasn't at home watching it because I probably would have been on X. And I probably would have been less calm because I occasionally had a little look on them. I was like, turn it off. Like, once I need to save phone battery until I don't like the cut of the jib of what I'm seeing. And I did feel it was a very typical Seahawks performance this season. Is that they played the percentages, they managed the situation. I'm obsessed with this. Let the game declare itself statement that Mike McDonald often says, and they did that. They let the game declare itself. This was a day that the defense was dominating. They did not have to try anything tricky or risky or be too aggressive. They just had to build a lead from which their defense could defend. They did that, and then at the end, so there was when they actually had the sack fumble. I should say this: I cheered and celebrated so hard that I actually, for about 5 minutes, thought I'd injured a hernia, like popped a hernia. I was in that much pain. And I thought Jeff had gone for a slash right after the play. So I had no one to talk to about this. I was kind of stood there thinking, because my dad had a hernia at my age. So I've been waiting for this to happen. It's the only thing that's ever happened to him.
That'd be the place. There are a lot of trainers
70.
around.
Yeah, my dad's 70 next month. He's never as much had a cold, but he has had a hernia at this age. So I was expecting that's going to be me because I've been similarly fortunate so far. I was really worried that I was going to have to go to hospital after the game. And then it turns out I'm just a wuss. And then about an hour later, the pain had gone. But then when the interception happened with Julian Love, I then did the same celebration and it hurt again. So I was like, but when the game ended, it was just they had to they threw us out of the stadium. Like Jeff and I were like 2 of the last fans.
I don't know. I think Brian's claiming to be the last one in the stadium. I saw him throw something about that. So was it 1, 2, and then 3? Brian was the last one.
Right. Brian was like, because the media could stay, but they wanted the rest of the hoi polloi out, like get out, like they wanted to get out of the thing. You're not supposed to be here anymore. So they threw us out, and we didn't want to leave because we just thought this is one of the best days of our lives, and we're just sort of taking in the surroundings. And I wanted to look at that big screen that said Seahawks Super Bowl champion. I didn't want to leave that spot. I just wanted it to last forever. So that was my day.
That is awesome.
Maybe you don't get to miss out on this. You were there. I remember seeing a core memory tweet from you. What was it like for you?
Oh my gosh. It was core memory is such an understatement of what being at that game was like. I think like super surface level, the Super Bowl was so cool. Like I was young when I went to the Super Bowl years ago. And so for me to, be older and really understand like all the graphics and the music and the fireworks, like for me as an entertainment piece, that was amazing. But to be surrounded by former Seahawks players, I had Walter Jones on my left, like it was Max Strong behind me. Like it was awesome. And it was really special for my family to be there all together and to celebrate in that. And yeah, like Rob, I've been going through my phone, my camera roll nonstop just of the billboard and the Jumbotron with the Seahawks win and the fireworks on it. But I do have to say, Rob, thankfully, your injury wasn't that visible. There was like a guy that like ran on the field in the middle of the game, and one of the Patriots players had to like grab him, but one of the security guards like pulled his hammy on the field, and so he was like struggling to get up, and the whole stadium saw him. So at least you injured yourself, and probably nobody noticed but you. I think that dude should be in a commercial for stretching or something because he was not able to catch the streaker that ran on the field. But Brian, take us into the locker room. I know you got to talk to some guys and just experience the excitement of that. What was that like?
Yeah, unbelievable. And I'll say more in a second, but as Rob talked about the national anthem, I just have to give another shout for America the Beautiful by Brandy Carlisle and then Charlie Puth for the national anthem. I mean, were unbelievable performances. Like they were unbelievable. So totally agree. Just those two were amazing. And then the locker room, you talk about core memories, AB. You know, I've never, it's probably suffice to say I've never been in a situation like that. And it was so moving, like to be able to be there. And, I think a lot of folks there, especially media, are there. And part of the job is to be emotionally distant from what's happening and to cover it with emotional distance and objectivity. And that's not what I am. Like, that's not the role I'm trying to play. And so, the way, Mike talked about that, he's developed some relationships with some of these guys. I've similarly, gotten to know some of these guys, and I know what it means to them. And I know what it meant for some of the guys to not be able to play in this game and want to be able to play. And just the coaches as well, getting to talk to Justin Outen and know him this week and then see him again, getting to talk to, Carl Scott this week and then seeing him in there, getting to know Nolan Teasley this year and Matt Berry and all these guys, in personnel department, John Schneider, like it was just, it was so incredible to see these really quality people that have put in so much work, not only to the football side, but to the people side of how this organization's run and the way they treat everybody. It was just, it was, incredibly gratifying, and it was just really easy to be happy for all of them. And that was one of the weird things. I don't know if this is come through, if I can articulate it properly, but I've been a fan my whole life, and so I was always happy for me when they won. And yes, I'd be happy for the players, surreptitiously, but I was like as happy for them as people I've gotten to know as I was for me as a fan to be able to celebrate it. And so that was a different experience than I've had before. And yeah, it was great. It was great. And I mean, I'll tell you one quick thing that was funny was I was talking to Gray Zabel and Charles Cross doing a left side of the line interview. And as I was doing it, Bryce Cabledew was playing baseball with crushed beer cans and sliding head first in on the locker room floor. And I mean, it was chaos in the best possible way. So yeah, it was amazing.
I can relate to that sentiment of just being happy for the team. When I was at the team hotel doing the player interviews, I kept asking guys like, "Are you so fired up? Are you so excited that you're at the Super Bowl?" And I think they were kind of in their like media mode, and I was like, I think I'm more excited for you in this exact moment, than you are for yourself. But which totally makes sense. And Mike, you referenced that earlier, just saying how you were going around, saying congrats to the players. What did you experience from the chaos in the locker room post game?
Yeah, I mean, minus the obviously the alcohol, It felt a little vibey, similar to week 18. You know, they had the music cranked up, guys dancing, everybody on Instagram live, cigar smoke everywhere. Like that was pretty choky. Same thing with the NFC Championship game, smoke, real choky. So like in terms of just like energy, it was something I felt before, but just the finality of it was different for, again, just different guys, you know, all the way from undrafted guys like Jake Bobo to, you know, knowing what the last 20-ish months or something like that has been for Ernest Jones. Talked to Jax for a little bit. You know, I talked to Ken for a little bit as well after he did the podium thing. I was in there for that as well. And that was cool because I never really go to the podium things post game. But for some reason, I was like, let me go see how Ken's doing. And I was just like, you can tell he hates this, absolutely hates this, this like having to answer questions from everybody. So that's why there's the video you guys may have seen is me asking him which family he had there. Cause I was like, let me just throw him something easy that's not about the game. And that's when he revealed that his dad had never been to a game. Until
Mike, good job, because that was
Yeah.
that I think was one of the coolest quotes that came out of the end of the game. And so, Rob, just from you, you know, we heard what Mike thankfully asked K9 about his family and saying that that was the first game that his dad was able to actually attend in person. But for you, you know, you heard K9's story, you heard Sam Darnold shout out his parents in a really meaningful way. There was a great video of Mike McDonald and his wife and his son sitting on the field. Out of all the storylines and maybe the quotes from the players that came out of the Super Bowl Sunday, what did you hear that you loved?
Yeah, I particularly enjoyed the Mike McDonald with his son, just because it reminded me of my son at that age. You know, a pain in the arse. And I love this quote. One day you will really like this day, Jack. I found that absolutely fantastic. You know, as I think most parents have suffered through those kind of moments with a child, an unruly child at that age. So I thought that was great. Sam Darnold talking about his parents was unbelievably touching, and it sort of makes you realize, you know, how important your parents can be at times in your life, and how you want to be important to your kids' lives as well, and you want them to feel that way about you, that you help them in the future. So there was that, and for me also, just I just loved little things about this. Like seeing Jaron Reed walk off the plane carrying the Super Bowl trophy meant a lot to me, because I just really like watching the way that Jaron Reed carries himself around the team, and I like the fact he's got that bit of alpha energy to him, and see how emotional he was after the NFC Championship game, to see him sort of winning a title and to sort of feel like it meant something to him to do it here as well. And people like DeMarcus Lawrence who'd come across and get this moment in their life, and Leonard Williams and people like that, you know, just it was great to see this group of characters who were so connected. And I said this on Seattle Sports earlier, this is the kind of team I want to follow. You know, this is the kind of team I want to root for. It's that physical team. They play the kind of way I like to play. It's not for everybody, but it is for me. And I like the fact that there aren't really sort of those massive name fancy stars. There's not like an Aaron Rodgers type quarterback in there, or you know, a diva style receiver. You know, I thought here's one thing. I'm rambling on. The one thing I really loved was Jackson Smith and Jigba's pre-game interview that I watched today, and I was watching the game back. And I just thought, this is so unlike most superstar receivers in the way that they speak before the game. And he was asked about having an impact and stuff like that. And he said, I don't care about any of that. I just want to win today. And I just thought there's a receiver currently playing in Pittsburgh. I'm not sure would have necessarily handled that interview the same way. And I guess the grass is greener for him now. And, you know, as it is for Sam Darnold, as opposed to the other quarterback who just didn't quite fit the culture in Seattle. But I hope he's having a great time in Vegas, where they prepare to replace him with the #1 overall pick.
Well, JSN certainly is going to be content with that Super Bowl ring, and I'm excited to see what it actually looks like. I was thinking about that today. I wonder what the ring is actually going to look like. You know, probably a lot of diamonds and a lot of bling on that. But Brian, any just final thoughts on the storylines that you heard from the game, or even just thoughts about the parade coming up? Anything people should know?
I mean, quickly on the parade, I'll just say, if people don't know, it's going to start in Lumen Field, and then it's going to progress to like the Seattle Center, which is the opposite of what it did in 2013. I thought it was a clever logistics switch, because we all had to wait in the stadium last time, and Marshawn was late, I think, getting on the floats and hours
No,
before he got
really?
in. But no, I don't think it was actually intent like that reason. I think I heard it was because there's some kind of motocross that set up in Lumen Field. Doesn't really matter. But that'll happen tomorrow. And then as far as storylines, I was just thinking about what Rob was saying. Part of what made this perfect is not all the things, not just all the things we've already talked about, but the fact that this team is so, representative of the Northwest in that they are understated and underdogs and ignored and discarded and doubted. And like, I think it really makes it a team that Northwest fans can really identify with and relate with. And one of the things that is also just super unique is it took a lot of Seahawks fans till late in the season. I think maybe all the way until week 18 before they truly started to like fully buy into this team. And for some of them, it might have been even till they beat the Rams. Like, honestly, like I think a lot of them after the week 18 game were in, especially after the 41-6 divisional game. But how many times has a team won a Super Bowl where their own fan base maybe had some, hesitation until that late in the year? And so I love it. I love it for the guys. I love it for the coaching staff. And could Mike McDonald be any more precious and innocent? Like, I don't know if you heard the audio. Everyone saw him look up, which was just like the perfect moment. But to hear him say, "That's it. We
won."
just won the Super Bowl." And it
Great. If
was
you
so
haven't seen it, the NFL tweeted it a few hours ago, I believe, what Brian's referencing. The precious is the best word to use. It was perfect.
it's so innocent and so genuine and authentic. And like Mike can attest to this. Like, that's who McDonald is. Like, it is so important for him to be honest. I think that's part of why he has such trouble with the injury stuff. Like, he hates saying something and having it be wrong or saying something that's misleading. And man, I think most Seahawks fans could not be happier to have this guy leading this organization for a long time. And I don't think the core part of who he is will ever change. And I personally am so grateful that it's him and that personality type and not Sean McVay and not Kyle Shanahan and not these people that find every way to blame people for the problems instead of taking responsibility for them. So yeah, huge kudos to Mike and happy for him and his family.
Yeah, definitely go check out those mic'd up videos. I know there's some of Cooper Cup as well, saying, I'm not till it's 000, not celebrating until then, and all the things. And I do want to make sure we have time to get into the game itself. But we saw Darnold and K9 were at Disneyland. We know what's happening with the parade. But Mike, I'm sure you got to celebrate somehow. What did you do right after the game? Do you have any celebration plans? How are you celebrating this big win?
I wish I did have some great celebratory story. This is where the logistics of the Super Bowl were just awful. It's like the one thing I'd probably complain about. The game was in Santa Clara. I was staying in San Francisco. The last shuttle leaving to San Francisco was leaving, I think, 4 hours after the game. I didn't come up from the locker room until about 10:15. You guys can do the math. That gives me no time to write anything. So I had to call my editor like, hey, you want me to Uber back? It's going to be expensive. You want me to just leave now and ride this bus for an hour where you get next to no copy from me while you want my story immediately? So I actually hitched a ride with Mike Silver, Albert Breer, I want to say Jeff McClain of the Philly Inquirer. Silver drove us back up to the media hotel where I'm not staying. And I just finished my story halfway in the back of Silver's car and then in the hotel lobby at Park 55 and finished that, had a beer courtesy of Silver, and then went with Jerry Brewer, Mike Jones, my colleague, and one other guy. And we went to a 24-hour diner in downtown San Francisco, and I ordered eggs and turkey bacon. And then I Ubered to my hotel, text my wife bed at 2:47 a.m. and went to sleep, woke up at 8 a.m. and recorded our Seahawks Man-to-Man podcast. And yeah, that was most of my Monday. So, and then today I got home Monday night at about 11, went to go pick up my son, went to bed at like 12:30, went to locker clean out today. And now I took a nap right before this, and yeah, then the parade tomorrow. So I'm just still rolling. Yeah, no celebratory yet. It'll be cool tomorrow. It'll feel like more celebratory. I don't think I have to write anything after the parade unless somebody does something crazy. They just want a bunch of videos and sound from the parade for like our social team. So that'll probably be like the most relaxed day I have, and maybe just maybe I'll do something over the weekend. But remember, I'm taking care of 2 little ones as well. Like my dad came over today. He's upstairs right now, just so I can do this. Otherwise, I'd be doing the show with my son right here watching
Hey,
Miss
he's
Rachel.
welcome. He's more than welcome. He's a
Yeah.
Super Bowl champion as well.
He would pull at my hair. That would be or my chains. He's at that age where you grab everything. So like I can't even hold him over my shoulder unless I have my hair in a bun. Otherwise, he grabs my hair and tries to put it in his mouth. So that's gonna be my life anyway. So nothing anyway. In short, I have not celebrated yet. Hopefully the parade will be fun. A lot of my homies from high school and college and stuff will be all down. Childhood will all be at the parade. I'll probably bump into them and turn down some alcoholic beverages if they're too strong. But otherwise, I will try and enjoy the hell out of tomorrow, assuming traffic's not too bad and I can get down there on time.
Give this man a raise, someone said, and yes, I agree, Mike. You are doing the most. But on the topic of alcoholic beverages, not to make that the centerpiece of the show, but I did get to go to the Seahawks post-game party, and I will say a very cool touch was they had 2 drinks on the menu, specialty drinks. The first one, 12 as 1. The second one, Chasing Edges. Chasing Edges was whiskey. 12 as 1 was tequila, I believe. And I didn't know that they had names. I didn't know I had names. I took the blue drink. I'm like, that's kind of cool. Seahawks blue. Like, yeah, sure, I'll take that. Then I found out it was 12 as 1. I'm like, man, give me one more of those. 12 as 1, I'll take it. I liked it. I was all about it. But yeah, super, super awesome to hear your experiences on the field, in the locker room, in the stands. I think it's super cool. And man, what a core memory day for everybody. But I do want to get to the game itself. But first,
I'm sorry, AB. I can't let you say that you were at the party and only talk about the drinks. Give it.
Yeah, that was crazy.
I mean, wasn't Shabuzi there and T-Pain?
If Shabuzi was there, I didn't know he was there. But it was T-Pain and Ludacris. Ludacris came on first, and I will say the whole time I'm thinking to myself, like, man, all I want in life, like, this has been the best day of my life. All I need is him to sing the rap to Baby, Justin Bieber's Baby song. That was like the thing when I was living in Seattle growing up. Like, this would just be full circle. And there's, no way he's going to do that throwback. Then all of a sudden you hear the the Baby beginning. And I have it on video. I go, yes. And it's silent because nobody else is waiting for that song. You got like everybody around me. And so I think for me, like, that was really cool to listen to a song by the artist that you listen to your middle iPod mini when you were living in Seattle cheering for the Seahawks. That was a really cool and special moment. But yeah, Mike McDonald introduced Ludacris. Literally, he was like, yeah, I think we got Ludacris coming. I'm like, never thought that'd come out of your mouth, but there we are. Like, it was awesome. And like you kind of mentioned, Brian, the Seahawks do everything top notch, and it was beautiful. The signage, the amount of family members and friends that were able to be there. I remember talking to some people on the PR team, and man, they were gassed. Like, they were gassed from all the hard work that they had been doing this week. And so I was happy for them to be able to celebrate this and to experience it. But yeah, super cool. And hopefully that's not the last Super Bowl party any of us will be attending or going to. So I didn't get to hold the trophy, though. I tried to track that one down. So, Mike, you beat us all on that one.
Wow.
But yeah,
they didn't have
cool.
the trophy there? Somebody had to have it.
They did. No. Oh, they did. It was being passed around, but
gotcha.
I wasn't in the line to get that one. So we're just going to have to, have them win again.
I do have to admit something to you guys. So I was in the team hotel, and they had it decked out with all this like big Seahawks signage. And after like the team's leaving, I'm like, where's the signage gonna go? And so I like went up to the front desk.
We know where this is going.
I was like, are you guys just gonna toss these massive murals of like Sam Darnold and Ernest Jones? And they're like, let me find out, because I'm like, I'll take one off your hands if you want. And turns out the NFL is gonna come and reclaim it. I'm like, this is going to end up in a landfill somewhere. Like, you know how much people would get joy out of this?
Brian. You just take it and you don't
ask.
I do this at every national championship. I did this at every ACC championship. We would just see the signage. They're going to have to throw it away anyway. We're helping them out. We're just helping you out. It's going to be at, the team house for 10 next years.
Lesson learned. Thank you.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And Rob, real quick, if you had to steal one thing that wasn't the Lombardi, I know that you're crafty. You know, we did have the story of you in the stands one time. I'm not going to go fully in there to out you. People can go back on a few episodes and listen to that. But if you had to steal one thing, what would it be from this past weekend?
It would have been somebody else's Uber after the game. So what happened was we got out. When we knew the Seahawks was going to win, I sprinted up the stairs from where we were. I don't know if anyone remembers like the Ultimate Warrior's entrance. Like he sprints full pelt, and that was me sprinting to get to the bar before they shut the bar. And then I got to the concourse, and they had already shut the bars, so we could not get a beer. So then we got outside and was like, right, let's get out of here. Let's go and have a few beers before everything shuts down. And we had basically Jeff and I just wandered the streets of Santa Clara for an hour and a half, as everybody who left the stadium at the same time was looking for the same one Uber that seemed to be available, including Jonathan Hankins, Zach Miller, and Ricardo Lockett were also in the same boat. Do you know how surreal it is just be wandering around outside, like desperately trying to find somewhere that'll take you back home with people like that. Like everybody was in the same boat. It was ridiculous, but we then got back eventually after a long walk and a long wait and had a few beers. And I don't smoke. I'd have taken a cigar at that point, one of those big fat ones. I'd have taken one of those beers that's like comes in a shoe, like a big boot, glass boot. And I had anything at that point. It was just a perfect end to the night.
Well, not to, rain on the parade for this moment, but I was leaving the post game party and I'm walking out with my dad and my mom. And for people who don't know, my dad is Matt Hasselbeck. And so we're leaving. There's this guy walking towards us, one of the Seahawks fans. He's probably leaving another party. And JSN is like right on the sidewalk, like right here. So we're passing JSN. He's talking to some friends, like by a stopped car. And I was like, this is great. There's JSN. Like, I was like so excited to see him, but he was in a conversation. And this fan is walking by. And as we're passing JSN, this fan's like, Matt Hasselbeck. Oh my gosh, Matt Hasselbeck. And I'm sitting there like, and I love my dad. I think he's so cool and everything. But I'm like, that's JSN. He has no idea the Super Bowl champion is like 5 feet away, like 5 feet away from us. So like this guy's freaking out about, Matt Hasselbeck's right here. But like the guy who just won the Super Bowl, JSN, Offensive Player of the Year, is like 5 feet to my left. And I almost like out of kindness for him would be like, yeah, but like JSN too, dude. Like he's right there. And I couldn't do it to the moment. But that was a funny moment for me, just the irony in that moment. I'm like, man, I think my dad is the coolest person in the world for sure. But you got the dude that just played in the game. But let's get to the game because I know there's a lot to go on. And we do want to highlight the sponsors for this season that have been dripping us out in all the outfits. My Doer jeans and jacket have been perfect for the travel that I was doing with the shows, running upstairs to just film these Seahawks collectives in the convention center, but also fitting for when you have to be dressed up. And so I love the Doer gear. I'd love to know from you, Brian and Mike, how you guys loved your Doer gear this season. Sorry, Rob, we can't include you in this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, as I've said, if Rob had my Doer jeans, they would look like capris. So he's just a little taller than I am, but they're great. I mean, they stretch, but they don't stretch that far. And one of the cool things is they've got this like Cool Max tech that built into it. It's like kind of regulates temperature. And I got to say, it was so nice to be down in mid-70s weather in the Bay and to go from what was like 40s or whatever in Seattle and be wearing my Doer jeans and be able to wear them down in the Bay in warm weather and be comfortable no matter where I was. It was great. So love the Doer jeans, strongly recommend them. And yeah, I'm already thinking about the next thing I'm going to add to my closet from Doer.
I like it. And Mike, how are they for you?
They're great. Here, I wore them to the Super Bowl. You can see that. There's my pants.
Oh, there we
Nice.
go.
Super Bowl. Yeah, I don't have them on.
Doer, you're also Super Bowl champions.
Yes,
You
That's
can
right.
claim it.
On the field, I wore them and I changed my outfit. I told you guys I initially was going to. Then I found something else I was going to wear. I did some more shopping on like Thursday or Friday because all I could do was walk through downtown San Francisco half the damn day because I wasn't staying at the media hotel. Anyway, enough complaining. But so yeah, I ultimately landed on my Doer jeans. They felt great. I have a lot of positive comments from the game about what I was wearing. That's great. I'm not a suit guy and stuff too, so like it don't matter if I could go to the Met Gala, Grammys, Oscars. I'm not wearing a suit. The last time I wore a suit is when I got married. I probably will never do that again. So as the doer stuff, getting compliments on those, because for me that's dressy, like I wear sweats, like Brian can attest 90% of the time. So if I wear a belt and jeans, it's like a big moment for me. So yeah, shout out to Doer. I wore those at the Super Bowl, and those pictures will live on in the Dugar family archives there forever. The day I was at the Super Bowl.
I like it. Advertising for Doer forever for your family. And you can get 15% off your first order. So don't wait. Go to shopdoer, DUER.com/GoHawks for 15% off. Shopdoer.com/GoHawks. We're so excited for them to drip us out this season. And hopefully you'll see maybe Rob in a Doer Super Bowl fit next year. But let's talk about this game. And there were so many amazing plays, a lot of core memories, obviously a crazy defensive performance, but then we also saw insane special teams plays. So you could really take this any way that you like. Rob, when you think about this game in 10 years, what one play is going to stay with you forever?
Well, I think the obvious answer is probably the touchdown return by Chenna Nwosu, just because I think at that point you knew the game was over. I think it was probably over.
Not for Cooper Kupp. Not for Cooper Kupp.
Well, no,
until there were zeros on the clock.
No, he was. I'd love to know the point of that video, what was like the score and what the time was, because I get the sense it was like right before the end when the game was definitely won. But when Chenna was sort of running through, you just knew there was no chance there. That was the absolute. It's done. There's no way back from here. Because I suppose earlier in the game, even though the game was in control for the most part, it was that moment that you knew the Seahawks are Super Bowl champions. And the thing that I loved about that was there was still enough time to sort of just be able to bask in that. Like there was enough time left in the game to be able to just sort of think about it. Like it didn't just happen and then that was it. That was the end of the game. And it was just the celebrations happened. Like you had a good period of time there to sort of just sit back and reflect on it before the celebrations began. So probably that play, but I could run you through. I mean, look, the sack fumble that led to my sort of hernia fear was a great moment, as was the Julian Love interception and the Barner touchdown. So numerous opportunities there to say that was the best play.
And Brian, what would that moment be for you? It could be a play, or it could just be a moment that maybe when you finally relax and realize that the Super Bowl would be the Seahawks.
Yeah, I mean. It's kind of funny. One of the ones that comes to mind for me is Michael Dixon's last punt. I thought that was a crazy punt from him. Unbelievable skill. But I will tell you the thing that I'll probably remember, which maybe other people won't. But I can't remember if it was on this show or not. But I'd said before the game that I just had this hunch that Derek Hall was going to have a good game. And I thought it was a good matchup for him. And my son was listening, and he decided without me knowing that he was going to place a $5 bet on Derek Hall getting a sack in the first half and in the second half. And he told me about that for the game. I'm like, why'd you do that? Like that's silly. And whatever. I don't really bet, but he did. So then all his friends did the same thing because they're like, oh, Hawk Blogger's got some insight into this. And so Derek Hall gets the first sack. And then the strip sack was in the second half, and they all won. They all won that bet. So I loved that. And just in case, I don't want to steal all the plays, but I also thought the Riley Mills sack was like, that was maybe my Mike was too far away for me to hear. But
was that his first career sack?
I think so. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was, yes.
I could not stop talking about Riley Mills from that point on. Like, Riley Mills is in. Everyone's like, we know, Brian, just shut up already. Like, but
hey, clearly your intel works. So people are gonna follow along.
Yeah, so that's probably what I'll remember.
And Mike, what would that moment or play be for you?
I'll cheat as I tend to do and pick two. On field, just D Hall, just his first sack. I was like, this game's over. I had finished my tape study of the Patriots offense on Thursday night, and I just remember thinking this game might not be close. I just really did not feel like it would be close. Before that, I wasn't sure because I hadn't finished. I'm a big tape guy, and I was like, "Oh, they can't block. This game's a wrap." And then and particularly Will Campbell was struggling all playoffs, it was really bad. So once he got beat, I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, tape doesn't lie." And then the other moment would be right as I don't know why my eyes were over there, but right as maybe because there was a streaker earlier in the game, but right as so in the opposite end zone of where AJ Barner's touchdown was is kind of where the press box where we all were sitting. And right as the game ended and the fireworks went out, two guys just come streaking out. I'm like, we got more streakers? And it was Quandre and Shaquille Griffin, like filming themselves running on to the field. I don't know how, of course I catch them. Because again, I've been covering the team for a while. So the guys who have been here a while, I just, for some reason, just got radar sets to. And then just seeing how happy they were and being some of the first guys out that I noticed, because once the confetti goes, you can't find anybody. And I don't bring binoculars. So it's like, who's who? But I do got a really badass video at JSN. But otherwise, that was pretty dope. I was really happy for those guys. As Brian mentioned, there was a lot of guys who you're happy for who didn't play. I spoke to Zach Charbonnet after the game, very briefly, but spoke to him. It was just cool. One of the other questions that I asked Ken, again, I'm just throwing him softballs to just make him feel comfortable up there, was I asked him just how much Zach was on his mind in the playoffs. He talked about Zach being his brother and how much he cares for him. So I was just telling Zach about that, just how that happened, and he was telling me how much him and Ken love each other. Yeah, Zach would have probably just stolen somebody's ACL to play in this game, and there was tons of guys like that as well. So thinking about all the guys who didn't play or who had been around or contributed. And so when I seen Quandre and Shaquille, I was like, of course, those guys are two of the first guys I catch. And they were happy as hell. They're probably running as fast as Rob was to try to go get a drink. It looked very similar. I didn't see Rob, obviously, but I've never seen Shaq run that fast.
Yeah, no one will have seen it. It was too fast. Yeah.
That's
it was
good.
a blur.
Well, Mike, I love that you bring that up because Zach Charbonnet actually posted a story today, really just describing the relationship that him and K9 have, and how people probably try to put them against each other because they're the same position, and everybody thinks you got to have one star running back, but you really saw what K9 was able to do, probably with the support of Zach Charbonnet throughout the season. And so Rob, for you, what have you observed from just the running back room in Seattle and the dominance that they were able to have this season? Towards the end.
Well, yeah, it was really sort of came on at the end, didn't it? And it's hard not to, unfortunately, to sort of maybe look a little bit at the coaching change that happened there, that positional coaching change. And wonder if maybe it was just a case of time enabling this blocking scheme to find its best form, which is not a surprise. We've seen that before, and I think if a realistic expectation, and I think we spoke about this before the season began, was like, how can the offense get to sort of its peak abilities? It might take a bit of time, as it did with the defense last year, and it maybe took a little bit longer than I think we were expecting with the running game. But when it got there in a tremendous way, and I think you have to give Ken Walker a lot of credit for the way that he's rounded off this season, because it has been an up and down time for him, and he is now the Super Bowl MVP, and he's probably going to be a very rich man in a few weeks' time as a consequence of that. And it's going to be interesting to see what the Seahawks do here, because I'm very big now. Like, my mindset is very much like 50% on just loving every second of this, and 50% of already kind of like looking ahead to sort of how they try and do it again. And it's hard to imagine how they do this again with question marks over Zach Charbonnet's health because of his knee injury, and no Ken Walker, because the draft is incredibly thin at running back. It was a thicker running back class last year. It's the opposite this year. And the free agent group is not great. And if you want to trade for someone that, the name that was sort of rumored during the season was Devin Achane, well, he needs a new contract as well if you're going to trade for him. So I think you're in a difficult position there. I just don't know what they're going to do with Ken Walker if the price goes up because of the way that he's finished this season. But yeah, great credit to both Zach Charbonnet, who deserves a mention, Ken Walker, the staff, Clint Kubiak, now left us, and everybody else.
Oh man, I know. I think it's a bittersweet thing with Kubiak, right? And so, Brian, for you, what did you notice about maybe how players were interacting with him? We already saw him at the Raiders facility. Like, you said he'd be at the parade though, so we know that he's coming back to Seattle. But yeah, what did you just observe from maybe, that moment for him in getting to share in that, but also knowing that he will be leaving?
Yeah, I want to toss that to Mike because I know Mike talked to a lot of guys about Kubiak and the impact of him going, and so I bet Mike might have some additional thoughts there that might be more interesting.
Yeah, I also talked to Clint, and it really is. He really is the same guy the whole time. Just whether he's talk on camera, off camera, on the sideline, Mike, whatever. It's just the same guy. My first time actually talking to him. No, second time. Second time. The first time I just asked him why he doesn't ever wear the throwback gear. When they wear it, if you guys know, he's always in the same navy blue hoodie with the throwbacks or the Nike special joints. He same blue hoodie when he coaches. It's very interesting. So I just asked, and he was just like, I just like wearing the same thing every day. And as someone who repeats the same black sweats when I don't have to leave the house, completely, I'm here with you, Clint. But like also just so many of those guys, just Mike McDonald's referred to as a genius. It's crazy how Clint kind of has the same rep inside that locker room. And the guys can give you an examples too. I'm a big examples guy, so I don't let people get off stuff like super smart, genius without saying, well, why? And like just the way Clint sets stuff up, like they had a lot of like shot plays work in the second half of games this year. And while it was frustrating probably for a lot of fans to watch the first half of their games and like, why are we only got 6 points? Why do we only have 3 points? Why do we have 9 points? Why don't we have a touchdown? That happened quite a bit this year. And they would end all those games with like 25 plus points. A lot of that is Clint. He'd come in the locker room and be like, all right, guys, they're giving us these fronts. Here's how we're going to beat that now. It's like, all right, cool. This weak safety rotation happens when we're in this personnel at this hash. All right, Sam, here's a shot play. Here's how we beat that. Just so many times. That's why there was so many moments this year where it'd be 6-6 and they end up with 30. What was the score today at halftime? Couldn't have been that much, 9-0. And they finished with 29 points. This game was, I think Rob said it earlier, a very Seahawky game. And on the offensive side of that, I can say that a lot of guys give you a lot of credit to Clint coming in there, and halftime ain't that long. It's like 12 minutes, unless it's the Super Bowl. Coming in there and be like, all right, eat your orange slices and peanut butter and jelly, and we're gonna fix this offense and go explode on these guys. And that's huge. That's the name of the game, is being able to figure out, all right, this is what they're gonna do, this is what they have been doing. Here's how we adjust, and then get guys to do it on the fly, and not always just here's how we're gonna get the ball to JSN. Like Jake Bobo touchdowns. All of AJ Barner's touchdowns in the second half of the games. Like it was just really special to hear from guys all week. And then even on Sunday. And then I talked to a few guys about it today since Clint's officially gone now. So a little bit more comfortable speaking about this stuff on the record now that he's gone. Yeah, it's crazy how he's basically their offensive genius. So I'm very curious to see how the replacement handles that. Those are big shoes to fill because Clint's a big reason as to why the Seahawks are Super Bowl champs.
Certainly. And Brian, I do want to make sure we get to what you all have coming up, but is there one coach, or I guess you could go with player, that you are most nervous about Clint taking with him and the Seahawks losing? Is there one person who you think, man, I could see them heading somewhere else?
I wouldn't say that there's anyone I'd be nervous about. I know people would immediately jump to John Benton, or maybe Adam Dirty. Like, I believe the Seahawks are set up for any of those guys to move on and still be okay. I honestly do. Justin Outen was the assistant live coach. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think Carl Scott could absolutely step into a DC role if Adam Dirty left. I think they've got options. But personally, I would really like to see John Benton, and I actually had a chance to talk to him the day after the game. I'd love to see him have a chance to stick around and develop this young line. He's had a lot of kind of one and done the last few years, not necessarily of his own fault. And he was talking to me about how the last time he had a line kind of like this was all the way back when he was coaching with the last Kubiak, Clint's dad, in Houston with Matt Schaub, and had a young quality line that he was able to like help develop. And I'd love for him and for these guys to get to, continue to work with him and have that continuity. So yeah, that's probably the one. But I mean, on a personal level, if AD left, I would really be bummed. I really like him. If Benton left, I'd be bummed. So yeah, I think those are probably the guys that come to mind for me.
So not sounding the alarm. No one is sounding the alarm, and Brian thinks we have sustained success coming. And so I love to hear that. But we're going to jump to what's to come for this group, but also the Seahawks. But first, we do want to share a message from our new friends at OG. So take a look at this quick video. If you're a Seahawks fan who's always saying, "Oh, I knew that was going to happen," OG is the place for you. After listening to our Seahawks insiders on this collective, I know many of you have to have had this experience. It's a prediction market platform where you trade real world outcomes instead of traditional sports betting. On OG, you're trading a simple yes or no outcome contracts.
For example, you can trade outcomes like, will Seattle win their first regular season game next season? Prices move in real time based on market demand, which basically reflects how confident the market is in that outcome. Right now, OG is offering a welcome bonus for new users. When you sign up, you'll receive a 100% profit boost capped at $20 for 5 straight days. Each boost lasts 24 hours and can be applied to one trade. And if your trade finishes in the money, your profit gets doubled up to $20. That's up to $100 in total profit boost, no matter which event you trade. Terms and conditions apply. Prediction markets are event contracts that are derivative products offered by Crypto.com. Derivatives North America, a CFTC-regulated exchange through OG technology, trading on CDNA involves risk and may not be appropriate for all users. OG isn't just sports either. You can trade markets across politics, economics, and more. Check out leaderboards and join live chat with other users. If you want to check it out, head to OG.com or scan the QR code on the screen. Terms and conditions apply.
All right. Thank you, OG and Annabelle's voiceover, I guess, for that. And thank you to all of
Rocked
the
it.
Seahawks Collective fans and listeners who've been listening. We so appreciate you tuning in this season. But, I really hope that now that we're technically in the off season, you all can get some sleep and some rest, because when I was writing my notes for what we were going to talk about today, I meant to write, okay, let's talk about the off season. And I wrote offense. I wrote offense instead of off season. So I hope all of you will get some good rest, but I know it's probably not going to be that way. Brian, you released the announcement of your book maybe 30 seconds after the game. I need you to talk about this. The We Did Not Care, how the Seattle Seahawks silence all doubts and become champions. What should people know about the new book that you're releasing?
Yeah, I was really honored. I was contacted by a publisher a little bit before the playoffs started about if this was to happen, and never done it before, and worked on some existing stuff that I had, and they've got some great photos included in the book, and it's just kind of a commemorative edition of what happened this season, and kind of the story of even all the way back to the offseason of the big decisions that the team made around Geno Smith and DK Metcalf and the combine and the draft, and how that rolled into what went on with Mike McDonald building the identity with John Schneider and the moves that John Schneider made throughout the season, as well as all the game recaps. And so you can get it hawkblogger.com/book, hawkblogger.com/book. Easy to remember, and pre-ordering is available now. It's going to start shipping in the next few days, maybe a week from now. I'm hoping to get some copies of it this week, and going to try to do maybe a live show next week at Lowlander, where I'll be able to do some signing and as well. So trying to figure all that out, all the chaos around it. But I watched Big Bro here, Mike, show me the way with all the amazing stuff he did with his book, and still asking him questions to try to learn from a guy that's been there. But it's something I'm proud of. So I'm hoping people enjoy it.
That's exciting. And yes, you have the perfect person on the show, Mike, to talk about it. Mike, I don't know, will we be seeing a sequel from you? Are you going to both do some book signings in the concourse of the stadium? What's coming up for you?
Yeah, I'm still undecided. It just depends on whether I want to sleep in 2026 or not. Seriously, because I was supposed to take paternity leave starting in late January, but I pushed it back because the season wasn't over. But now there's really just no time for me to take it in halves, right? Because I could take a week, but then I have my flight to the combines on the 22nd, and there's free agency, then there's the draft. So it just depends, because then I'm supposed to be on paternity leave from rookie camp through training camp. What's that, May through mid-July? So and I would like to sleep during that time. If I agree to write a book, there would be no sleep plus 2 kids. So we'll see. I want to do it though. I do. Maybe I co-write it with someone or something to take a little bit of the the load off, but I definitely want to do that. We're going to do our Seahawks man-to-man pod in the offseason as well. Still do my normal stuff at The Athletic as well. It really just depends on whether I want to sleep, because I probably won't until actually my boss told me I can just take next week off. So nothing for me next week at all. So I'll try to sleep next week. But yeah, I'm hoping to do that. Writing a book was fun. It was very hard. So I would like to do that again, maybe even something visual as well. Tap in with my people there to kind of take that next step since we're in that visual world now. But yeah, we're still do our Seahawks man-to-man pod in the off season. And then, yeah, we're right to, like I said, combine is in 10 days, 12 days is when I fly out there. So the grind really does not stop at all. Was asking guys about free agency today. I was like, damn, that does happen, right? Like all these guys, the whole 2022 draft class, pretty much. Shaheed, who was a guy I'd be interested in see if Clint takes, by the way. And so yeah, same normal stuff. But yeah, I might try to squeeze a book in there. We'll see. I'll let you guys know if I do.
Well, Mike, I liked Brian's answer on the who would Clint Kubiak take better than that, and you just kind of tossed it like maybe Shaheed, and they're like, wait, now we got show's about to end, and now I
The Raiders need receivers. They have a lot of cap space.
I don't want to. I'm not trying to ruin the mood. I'm like feeling good about this, and Rob, I'll toss it to you, but because we know Mike's kind of tired and Mike needs sleep, we're gonna let him have that. So I'm gonna give you the task of this super chat from Donna, as well as what you have coming up on the docket for you. We know the draft's coming up, and I'm sure this is when your time starts to get kind of crazy.
Well, the franchise tag is expected to be $14.5 million, which would mean that he would be earning more than Cook in Buffalo. He'd be earning more than Alvin Kamara. I know obviously he didn't have a great season last year, but he's on that money because of prior success in his career. There's another running back whose name I'm forgetting, who's up there and has had some success, who is in that sort of 12 million bracket. He would be very much in the Jonathan Taylor price range if you're paying $14.5 million. So I'm not sure whether they're going to do that. It's a lot of money to commit, and it also sets the bar at, if you wanted to keep Ken Walker beyond 2026, you're immediately negotiating from a position of it's $14.5 million per year, really, is the lowest you can go to there. So I'm not sure they're going to do that. I think what you have to hope for is you get to the combine and you discover that there's a whole bunch of teams who aren't really interested in spending, let's say, $12 million a year on a running back. And that therefore you might be able to come up with some kind of an agreement where you can keep him, because I think that's more likely or more necessary now than it was prior to maybe Zach Charbonnet before this great run that he's had leading to winning the Super Bowl MVP. But I don't know. I think I'd be a little bit surprised given the price of the franchise tag, whether they do that. But if they feel like they've got to have him, it's great to make sure that you keep him and they're not going to use it on anybody else, are they? That is one option. As for what I'm doing, this is now the time when I can finally say, please, everybody, visit SeahawksDraftBlog.com. It is called Seahawks Draft Blog because it's about the Seahawks and the draft, and it's a blog. So if you will be so kind to visit it, there'll be lots of stuff on there. I have already written today sort of an off-season primer, some of the challenges that the Seahawks are going to face coming up. I have written a mock draft. I did all this you can tell I've had an 11-hour flight today. I did all this on the plane. I did a mock draft. It's the first mock draft that I've done, and it's not an actual projection. It's more like what I would do based on having sort of graded the players. So it's going to be very different to any other mock draft that you see out there. And then we get into everything. I take all the time off work to cover the combine from several thousand miles away, and don't sleep during that period. I do the same for free agency, and the draft coverage will be wall-to-wall, non-stop until the end of April. So please check it out. Otherwise, it's not worth me not sleeping between them.
Check it out. And Rob, I won't make you say too much. So just give us a name. No why, no information, no school. One name that people should know. A little teaser to go check out your draft blog. Just one name.
That's just one, Rob. Just one.
Just one name.
Just one.
Just
we know how you get going.
That is like asking me to name my favorite child.
It could be a good name. Wait, what'd you say? I missed that. What'd you say?
That's like asking me to name my favorite child.
Which I bet you could do if we made you.
There you go.
There's so many.
There you go. That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
I'll give you two names. Okay. One is an unrealistic pick because he should go a lot earlier, and that is Caden McDonald at Ohio State.
I said you didn't have to give you didn't have to do the school. I just said
one
just
who
drop
is
the name.
one who's more realistic, who I think they will like, is Joshua Josephs at Tennessee.
All right. Well, thank you. All right. Well, everybody go check out the Seahawks draft blog to find out more. Rob worked a lot on it on his long flight from California. So we appreciate all the hard work that you do. And make sure you guys stay tuned from our team and what they've got going on, all the things that they're doing. They're bringing you top-notch Seahawks coverage from all fronts. And stay tuned to what this show is going to do and what the cadence will be in the offseason. We're excited to talk about the best team in the world. Like, are you kidding me? That is such a gift, and it's so fun for us to be able to cover the Seattle Seahawks headed into the next season. But man, I joked about it last week that the Seahawks were, 1-for-1 in the NFC Championship. But man, now we're 1-for-1 in Super Bowls, this Seahawks collective. So, and 1-for-1 on our insider lineup this season. So make sure you stay tuned for all that Brian, Mike, and Rob have going on. The Seahawks are Super Bowl champions. The Lombardi Trophy is back in Seattle. Go Seahawks.